In this video, we are going to see James O'Brien repeatedly shut down who I presume to be a very wealthy caller who believes that there should be no wealth tax imposed on the super rich here in the UK. As usual, let's watch the video in full and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Well, I mean, ideologically, I think you and I disagree a lot. I listen to you sometimes. For Brexit, I voted to remain on economic terms because I worked in finance, looked at the numbers, looked at the logic. I thought it was a terrible idea. I voted remain, right? So people that believe certain things don't all agree on everything.
Of course.
Which I think you sometimes point out. But other than that, the ideology of taxing somebody that made something of themselves. I don't know about the laws historically in Britain because obviously I was born here to foreign parents. I don't know how that bit of your society works. But people that come into £20 million through their own hard work, why does anybody feel entitled to go take anything of that? Given that you already paid a 45% a year annually as is, to get to that point, why?
Well, for the same reasons that we tax at all. You're looking at a country in desperate need of finances, in desperate need of money, and you're asking yourself one very simple question: where are we going to get it from?
Well, how about spending, to our means? Does that make sense?
No.
Why not?
Well, what are our means? Our means depend on how much money we've got.
Correct.
So suggesting that you could raise income tax, or you could go after wealth, you could go after money that accrues and grows year after year after year without the owners of that money doing anything. And
you said that. My flat in central London is worth less than it was in 2015. It's not true that
and you work in finance.
And I come from a nothing family. I went through scholarship schools in Cambridge.
So that wouldn't be affected by a wealth tax then, because it hasn't increased your wealth at all.
No, but
I presume it's not worth over 10.
It's not worth 10. No, but
it's not worth over £10 million, and we're exempting primary residences from this tax anyway.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of people who worked for their money and then they put it into whatever they like, be it property, be it whatever.
Yes, and then they make more money, so you're taxing them on the money that they make.
No, but it's already been taxed one time at 45%. Is that not enough, I'm saying?
No, of course it isn't, because it hasn't been taxed at 45%. The amount of money that your flat goes up by, and I appreciate you're the only person in London who's managed to buy a flat that's gone down in value over the last 10 years.
Since Brexit, the flats haven't gone up.
You have nothing but sympathy for me for that. But if you're getting taxed on the amount of money your flat has gone up in value by, how are you paying income tax on that?
The income tax I pay on my income with which I've bought the flat.
Yeah, but the flat's going up in value, except for you, for everybody else in central London.
The housing has, flats have not, in all of central London.
But here's the point. How are you paying income tax on the increase in your assets?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Yes, you are. You're saying you're paying it twice. And how have you paid income tax on the profits you've made from your assets?
No, well, the assets, if you rent them out, you pay taxes on the rental. If you sell them later on, you pay capital gains tax.
We're not talking about that. We're asking how you have paid tax on the profits that you've made from your assets.
And I just said it to you. Every year I file my taxes and they're rented out, so I pay tax on the rent.
You're renting the property out, so it's not even your primary residence.
Right, and I'm paying tax on that already one time, aren't I?
Yes, you are, but you're not paying tax on the profit you make from the rising value of the property. And if it's if it's not gone up in value, then you won't.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm just saying. So
I don't understand the point that you think. I don't understand the point that you think that you're making. Let's move on. No, go on. No, I understand that, but you don't currently pay any. So, okay, look. While we're at it, explain to me how the Duke of Westminster has been responsible for building his fortune.
No, I just told you the historical, because I want.
But you can't have a free pass on it. I want you to tell me why the Duke of Westminster shouldn't pay a wealth tax.
No, I don't disagree with that necessarily. So I told you ideologically we're not opposites at everything, but you got to make it work for the better of the country. About non-doms leaving, I know a few that are thinking about.
Yes, we all know a few that are thinking. Do you know any who have left?
One family I know went for Dubai already, just because of the inheritance on the money out. The Indians, right? They're like, my money in India has nothing to do with you. And if there's good schooling here, hang on, so it's in Dubai. So see you, then off I go.
Well, sayonara.
And that saddens me.
Well, does it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, they come to this country, benefit from all it has to offer, from all of the infrastructure that's been built by centuries of taxpayers, and as soon as they're asked to do a little bit more for the benefit of the population, they're off. But let's not get distracted. Why would you, as someone, are you likely ever to be taxed on assets over £10 million?
They're going to talk to me in 10 years. I don't know.
No. Okay. That's the answer. Actually, you've just provided it without me even getting the question out there. So you're thinking about future much richer you?
No, I'm not thinking that. What I'm thinking about is the good of the country. You just said that. No, I'm telling you from my heart, right? I said, like, in Brexit, we agreed. I'm saying mentality of British people, if it was to go make something of yours, rather than take something of another.
This is what John in Edinburgh said. He said this is how the argument works. You don't talk about the King. You don't talk about the Duke of Westminster. You don't talk about the Earl of Leicester. You don't talk about any of these fortunes that have been around since 1066, because the only way you can possibly ever protect that inequality is by conjuring up people who've just left to go to Dubai or some mythical... there will
but
be
what about the American tech fortunes that are like 10 years old?
So, well, I think Bill Gates himself has pointed out that if he paid 99% tax, he'd still be a billionaire. What does he lose, Benjamin?
He loses 99% of his work.
But he's still a billionaire. He's still one of the richest people in the world.
Who sets the cap?
Well, everybody cares because they're looking at a country that they think needs epic infrastructure investment, and where poverty is endemic.
Already have.
Pardon?
Or better spending of the resources we already have today.
Yeah, I mean...
Better management, less waste.
Yeah, there we go. Better management, less waste. All of those things are interesting, but we've been listening to that mantra for 50 years. Maybe it's time to try something new. We just had 14 years of austerity, mate. We had 14 years of cuts to everything from police numbers right through to filling in potholes and looking after newborn children. So we've done all that. We've tried it all. Do you think it's worked? Do you feel better off now as a citizen of this country? Do you think the infrastructure, the public services, the sense of community, the cohesion is better or worse than it was in 2010?
Sadly, yeah, I'm with you on that.
We've had 14 years of trying to do what you've just decided, so why not try something new?
Can I give you an example?
No, you can't. Well, you can, but I just want your help with something else, because I'm glad you began by establishing some common ground that we might have, because psychologically we're clearly very, very different.
Sure, but I also come from nothing. That's the thing. Like, it's well-educated is all I got.
Well, yeah, I mean, most people come from nothing, and sadly, most people return to nothing, clogs to clogs, within 3 generations, and that is that's precise the reason why that is a figure of speech.
Yeah, but I want to give you an example of something else which bothers me too.
Well, it's not that kind of phoning. I want your help in understanding what you think they lose. So, if you introduced a wealth tax on all people with assets over,
okay, I think the liquid people will leave. That's the issue.
Can you answer a question when I haven't even finished asking it?
Yeah.
They would still be the richest people in the country. They'd still be the richest people in the world. What do they lose? But maybe you have a better insight into that mindset than I do. What do they lose by helping everybody else out more?
The ones that can run away, pack up and run. The ones that can't, we might get a share of theirs.
No, but why would you want to run away? That's the bit I don't get. What are they running away from?
To lower tax jurisdictions.
Yes, but why? Why do they need so much? Why do they need so much?
Income tax is 20%. Though.
Why do they need so much?
Human nature, greed ingrained into the DNA.
It's not though, is it? It's not though. You see, and that's the fascinating thing, because it is for some people. And if you recognise under your own logic that these people are essentially the greediest, then surely they should be at the very front of the queue for people who the society in which they become incredibly rich should be demanding recompense from. And what better way to do it than on the benefits of what you've just described as their innate greed than through taxation? Because the massive majority of people in this country are not motivated by greed.
Honestly, I really love when I see James O'Brien breaking something down, because he breaks it down in a way that's so simple and easy for the average person to comprehend. Now, look, these are my thoughts when it comes to this caller. So I presume that this caller is probably, got a little bit of wealth behind him. May not be a multi-millionaire, as you heard. Ask him in 10 years. So that means that, in my opinion, I take from that, this is someone who is doing wealth building activities. He may not be there yet, but he's working towards it. This is what I take from it. The whole point of society is to create something where everybody can live peacefully amongst one another And if you're doing better, you can help more. If you're not doing as well, you can get a leg up. You can get some help. And the problem for people like that caller is that the fact that they're being asked to do more, they are unhappy with that. But the reality is this: if something isn't working in society, as members of society, we should be more than happy to be able to do our fair share or do more. You know, James O'Brien gave the example of if Bill Gates was to give away 99% of his wealth, he'd still be a billionaire. For that to be something that's known and an individual to say that, he's too rich. He has too much. Especially when you can walk the streets in London, in Birmingham, in Manchester, and you can see people that are sleeping on the streets. You're seeing food banks with lines all the way around the area, all the way around the block, simply because of the fact that there's not enough support and help being given to individuals. So the wealthiest amongst us should be willing and okay to be able to pay their fair share. And a 2% wealth tax on assets above 10 million, that shouldn't be an issue without a shadow of a doubt. It shouldn't. Now look, there's a few reasons as to why this debate is taking place and why it's something that needs to be listened to. And some of them are, number one, rising wealth inequality. The gap between the richest and the poorest is only widening right here in the UK. And the super rich have got so rich and so wealthy over the past couple of years, while the rest of us are dealing with stagnant wages, rising living costs, and public services that are great public services, but they're underfunded and they're struggling. We're seeing it. And something needs to be done. Some form of change needs to happen. It needs to take place. And I am all for this 2% wealth tax. I'm all for it. But it's not just about me. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you're part of my audience that's not from the UK, let me know what your guys' thoughts are about this conversation anyway. You guys are having things take place over in America right now with Donald Trump, and he's obviously putting things in place for the wealthiest amongst himself. So let me know your guys' thoughts and your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. While you guys are down there, drop me a subscribe, hit the thumbs up button purely for the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one.